Oh, yep, there we go. It says recording at the top right, and it's beeping right down here.
Yep, it's perfect.
All right. Hey, Rob, how's it going? Oh, I want to adjust this just a tiny bit.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. So I accidentally bumped into it. Hey, Rob, how's it going? Tell us a little about yourself and how you got into NFTs and Web3 and crypto.
Okay. I'm Rob Zoppo, aka Mr. Wizard. I'm part of the Buff Wild crew. I'm happy to be part of the Buff Wild crew. A little bit about NFTs and Web3. So I met Thomas in Hermosa Beach. We became roommates back in, I think it was like what, 2017, 2018? 2018. And it's kind of funny because I met him maybe in spring, and right before that time I just wanted to get into crypto. I was hearing about it, and I'm one of those people, I don't come from a very technical family. Like, my father's a stonemason, my mother's an English teacher, and everyone's thing's very old school, right? And I'm in this, I've always wanted more for my family, and so I was like, you know what, I hear about this new technology, and I'm not gonna miss the boat, right? So I invested in Litecoin first, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I put like $500 in this stuff, right? And so I was like I had the right idea, just had no idea what I was doing. So Thomas moves in, and Thomas is this crypto blockchain whiz, and we just started talking about it every night, right? And so now I start getting like my Binance wallet, I get my Coinbase, I start trading Litecoin, and then getting Ethereum and Chainlink and Cardano and BNB coin. I started getting all these things, so now I was like, oh, I like the tokens, I like the finance side of all these things, and then the trading. And so then that evolved into what is now like NFTs. They're hot, right? Like, what are NFTs? Why are they NFTs? Like, what's the point of these things? And so then, the more Thomas and we have these conversations, for the course of 4 and 5 years. And so, I'm a good listener, and so I absorb this information, and so now we're at this point where Thomas was like, I have this idea, I want to, do a podcast about Bitcoin and other things of that nature. And then he goes, one night, text me, hey, I'm looking for NFT artists. I was like, okay, cool. Send them to me. Send me the stuff you're getting, okay? And so I'm an actor. I'm in the entertainment industry, so I feel like I have the eye. I like that type of stuff, and so he started sending me it, and we were laughing because some people were trying. You got to give them their credit, but eventually he gets one. He's like, all right, we're gonna start this thing. So he starts developing it, and I learned more and more about the NFTs and as to why they're becoming so popular. They're not just the pictures, right? They're the start of a whole brand, a whole company, a whole organization that wants to take those NFTs, right? That's their initial offering to you to say hey, this is something cool, buy this, right? And then get your ticket in with us as a community, because we're gonna go somewhere else within the Web3 space, right? And I think once I understood that, I realized what the power of these NFTs are, right? And so I've said this to Alex and Thomas and other people, my understanding and how I approach it with my philosophy is art always precedes a new established order. And so if you think of it in terms of society and civilization, whenever there is a downtrodden city, artists go there because artists don't make a good living. They're usually poor and hungry. And so they make these new art renderings on buildings that are dilapidated, and they become beautiful, and people go, wow, this is a new trendy place, we want to be around this art. Buy that piece of property and make it really cool, right? And so then these new towns become the new happening places, and people want to live there. And so art always precedes this beauty and this civilized order, and I think that's what NFTs are doing with Web3, because you can't see Web3 unless you just can't, right? So you can't see Bitcoin, you can't see these things, right? On your phone you can, but it's not in real time. And so I think that for someone like me or someone who doesn't know anything about this, they're a little nervous to adopt new technologies because the world moves so fast, and people think, oh, we're going to Mars tomorrow. But NFTs at least make something pretty and cool that you're like, you know what? I'm warmed up to this idea. I want a piece of that action. And that's where I'm at with this space. I just know that there's something more to, Web3 and what Web2 is now. I definitely understand that it's held by a certain amount of people, right? Which restricts creativity. And it just does, you know? And so Web3, I believe, is going to be the foundation of something new that more people have their own opportunity, you know?
New chapter.
New chapter.
New chapter. So, we talk about adoption a lot, right? And you're really big into production and those kinds of things. And since you believe that Web3 is going to be the future, where do you fit in this world, right? As someone who doesn't really come from a tech background, who wasn't initially like, oh yeah, I love tech. Like, where do you want to fit, and what do you think you're going to bring to this community and to this culture and to this revolution that is Web3 and Radix and crypto and all that good stuff?
Sure. So I definitely am. I'm not a coder. I'm not the one doing the art for us. With like the acting world, I think something that I got into this new space, and then as soon as COVID happened, you had to tape yourself to audition, right? So you had to get technical a little bit, right? And so then it made things efficient. I was like, wow, I can just do this stuff from home. Like, yeah, there's a little learning curve to it, but I'm doing all this stuff on my phone, and it's just like, and then I start making short films, and now I'm putting them on YouTube to get some traction, right? And some of them are pretty good. They went to film festivals, but I earn no money from doing that, right? But I like the art. Whereas I think for me, like, we go to NFTLA, and some of the people from CAA, right, one of the biggest agencies in the world for creative artists, is talking about how every actor, every business is going to have their own source of Web3 NFT game, just like everyone has an Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, right? Because it's just what it is. You're going to have to brand yourself that way so that you can monetize the things you're doing, right? And people can't pirate your stuff. Or a young artist like me, it's like, hey, I created a short film, but it's on the blockchain. It gives me, whether it sells out or not, I don't know, but it can at least give me the opportunity to monetize the art that I'm putting out there, because you need to create things, right? Or else you're just always consuming, and that runs out. You need creation, right? And so for me, it's like the media side of things. Maybe it's, I think Hollywood and Netflix, obviously Netflix, there's like this weird standstill kind of going on right now where the new crop of young actors and artists are going to come up where, the ones who were in the 70s, 80s, 90s, they're aging, right? But I'm coming up in this new space whereas Web3 comes together, and I want to be able to mesh my acting talents and knowledge with Web3 and get in early, where if it's helping to market NFT projects or help to manage and incubate artists, right, and teach them how to put their art out there and be able to live comfortably and not poor, right? Because they shouldn't have to, right? If they're creating beautiful things, sure, they might not be as rich as Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, but you know what? They can have a nice apartment in Los Angeles because it's expensive to live here. Why not, right? And so if you can start to put together agencies for young talent that's going to either be acting or making NFT art, or young projects and young entrepreneurs who want to get their stuff out there and create a shop in the metaverse. I have these ideas of like maybe the business entity side, but helping to market them or help manage them and bring them up in their careers so that they can monetize what they do, but do it properly so they don't get taken advantage of. Because so many artists, musicians, you're in the space in Los Angeles or New York, and you will get taken advantage of if you don't know what you're doing, and you will work for free.
And that is a perfect segue into what my next question was going to be. So Hollywood is very centralized. It is very top heavy, and creators and actors are taken advantage of completely. One thing that we had talked about a while back was disrupting Hollywood with Web3, and you were hoping to do that, right? Can you expand upon that a little bit more and maybe talk about like the ins and outs of the industry and how Web3 can potentially help fix that issue?
Sure. I've been an actor for, let's say, 5 years now. A year and a half of it with COVID was tough, right? But I still pressed through, got auditions, did some work here and there. But as someone who's coming up and you're not in the SAG union, you work, I mean, if you were to truly put in the amount of time that you do to do your self-tapes, either drive to auditions, this and that, and then eventually one day you get your booking, right? And you finally book that job. You're really, the average you get paid, I'd say, for the stuff that I've been doing is between $500 and sometimes it's been pushing, say I've done a 10,000, right? But that's fewer and far between. And so if you're spending all this time, you know, in the real world, it's like just this really inefficient way to do things in an incredibly expensive city, right? And so if you're someone who wants to come up and you're not booking work, right? And you technically can't have a full-time job while pursuing acting, like how do you make it work so that you can rise the ranks without going broke? And so it's like, can you, whether it's, I don't know, whether it's putting together your short films and having, say, the Netflix of short films on Web3. Now, it might not be Netflix, but you could have these feeder programs to big-time productions that, if they're on the blockchain, young artists who start providing streaming content on Web3 are getting a piece of the pie, and they're getting paid so that, yeah, sure, maybe they're not making $1 million or they're not Brad Pitt, but if you make $3,000 a month, $2,000 a month, 50, well, I don't know what it is, but you at least provide something for these young people who want to become the next Brad Pitt, an opportunity to live in one of the most expensive places in the world, while also making no money pursuing a very difficult industry, right? And so there has to be a solution to that problem, and I'm going to be one of them to figure it out.
I like it. Woo. And so, in 1 minute or less, explain who Rob Zoppo is. What's your MO? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Like, why are you here? What do you want ultimately in life?
Yeah. So I said earlier, I come from, my father's a stonemason. He works incredibly hard. He's been doing it for 30-some years. It's a very antiquated way to live, and it's very demanding, and I want more for my family in general, right? Like, I think that the way that the world's going, wealth is getting distributed less and less and less, right? And I don't want to miss the boat of what is going on now with Web3 and that development, right? And so I think, one, I'm an entrepreneur by nature, but two, I am, like, I've had big dreams of acting, right? And that's why I moved to Los Angeles. So I'm someone who's willing to go out there, I learn a bunch of new things every day, right? But I think I have creative ability. I want to do it and do it the right way and represent like what Hollywood can be in a good fashion, right? It gets such a bad rap, but I think that the world's due for young, good talent that can give back to the world, right? Like, instead of just having this, I don't want to name names, but you know the people,
of the guard.
Yeah, change of the guard of like the reality TV bullcrap, and like, you know, provide value and real talent. You know, we need real talent again, and that needs to shine through. And I think I'm one of them. I know I'm one of them, but I need to make my mark and keep working. And if this space, if NFTs and Web3 helps me do that, or that's the way I go, then fine. But I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna figure it out, and I'll be a piece of this, and I'm here to stay.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Did that just finish?
Yeah.
Wow! Perfect timing, actually.
Yeah. And now we're about to generate 10,000 NFTs.
Yeah, let's fucking go! Damn!
Let's
All right,
go, baby.
cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah.
What do I press?
Just press the same button.